Hello, and welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'm Joe Dator, cartoonist, author, and Dianoga wrestler.
Does that mean you're someone who wrestles Dianogas, or you are a Dianoga who wrestles?
No, I participate in the sport of Dianoga wrestling. I wrestle the Dianogas.
As a human.
Okay.
I am a human, and I wrestle the Dianogas. The Dianogas wrestle as Dianogas because they have no choice.
Right.
Yes. It's always human on Dianoga. Otherwise, there's really no reason to sell tickets.
Luke should get into that. Luke Skywalker, I mean.
Well, I think he did get into that. He had no choice.
Yeah. He got into it, but it was more him, the Dianoga wrestling him. So it's,
right.
Yeah.
What I do in my field is it's a more aggressive we go out and we get the Dianogas and we make the first move basically. But it's also more poetic. It's more balletic, and often it's and it's always underwater. So usually it's done in a kind of a tank where people can see what's happening underwater, and there's betting. It's not supposed to go on, but there's always going to be betting. And it's just the way it is. Yeah, and there's certain rules. One of the rules is I cannot poke the Dianoga in the eye because that would be too easy. So that would be, and the Dianoga can't really poke me in the eye, so it makes it an unfair fight. But if you could just poke the Dianoga in the eye, that'd be the first move. You go in there and you win. So they had to give it a handicap like that. So anyway. By the way, I have to mention, about a week ago or a couple of weeks ago or months and months ago, I was having dinner with a friend of mine, my friend Jill. Shout out to Jill.
A human.
And I was telling her about your show.
A human.
I was telling her about the Star Wars Minute show. And she couldn't believe it. She just said no, that's not true. That's impossible. And I said to her, no, it's exactly true. They go through every minute of every Star Wars movie, and they do a podcast a day about it. And each episode lasts seemingly hours. And she said, there's no way that's possible. There's no way those guys are really doing that because it would take 10 years. Yeah, pretty much.
There we go.
Just about. We're getting close.
Yeah.
We're getting close.
Passing the 9 mark. Right about now.
I said, they've pretty much been at it for just about 10 years. So.
I wish we'd spoken to her 10 years ago. That would have been, a different fish.
Yeah, I said that would be pathetic. If they're still at this 10 years from now, what a bunch of losers. And I'm certainly not going to be a part of it.
No. Maybe once, but you're not on a regular basis.
Not enough to have a lounge named after you or anything.
Yeah,
no. And eventually that will be carved into marble in the front of that lounge.
Well, today, 9 years later, here we are talking about minute 84 of Star Wars: A Solo Story. 84 starts with Lando telling L3 she'll be fine, and it ends with Lando finding out that he lied. There's a couple of things here. So I guess let's start with that. You'll be fine. I can fix you. He's saying all these things to her.
Wait, hold on.
What?
We can't talk about that yet. First,
okay. All right.
We have to talk about the big important thing that we have to talk about at the beginning of this.
Oh, this is why you're here.
Yes. Okay. The reason I'm here, the reason I wanted to be on the show this week is because of something very, very notable that happens right here. Well, it started to happen yesterday. It's happened today, which was that we see in this movie something we've never, ever seen before in Star Wars. And that is a continuous shot going from the outside of the Millennium Falcon to the inside of the Millennium Falcon, where Han runs up the ramp and the camera follows him from the ground, up the ramp, and into the hold of the Falcon. And we've never, ever seen that in a Star Wars before because the set wouldn't fit inside the the full-size Falcon prop. It would be impossible. There's no way they could do that. The interior set is too big, and it just wouldn't work. It's a cheat. It's always been a cheat. The set is on a soundstage, and the full-scale Falcon is somewhere else. And here they used the oldest trick in cinema, pretty much, just a quick cut to make it a continuous shot. And I wanted to be part of the show because it was a single contiguous shot from the outside of the Falcon to the interior of the Falcon, which I love. And every time I watch it, it gets me excited because it's the only time it's ever been done. Well, maybe they did it after, I don't know. But they certainly did it in this one for the first time. And then that continuous unbroken shot was broken up by the 2 days of talking about it on this show. And when you sent me the minutes, my heart sank because it was no longer a continuous shot. It was literally broken up almost like at the exact moment of going up the ramp and then cutting to the interior.
Nature of the movies by minutes beast.
Yeah. And it's why I think it's my frustration with this show and why I think this show is destroying Star Wars and everything in its path.
I hope so.
Yeah. I would say destroying cinema in general.
You're destroying everything that makes cinema
not needed.
Correct.
It's so unnecessary. I mean,
I know. Yeah. So but that literally is the exact reason I asked you guys. I said, this is the minute of Solo that I would like to talk about because it makes me so happy every time I see that single shot. And I don't know if people notice that. I guess people notice that. I don't know. It's just sort of something that's very, very noticeable to me. The first time I saw the movie, I went, oh, there's something you don't see every day. And it doesn't even require any sophisticated digital technology to do it. They could have done it in 1977, conceivably, right? It's just the trick we pull, the trick we may or may not have successfully pulled off just now, of like having his body for a moment block the camera where they've been doing that trick for years. It's one of the oldest tricks in cinema. And
they're doing it's flickering lights they're playing with here and bodies moving around.
Yeah. And it's so simple.
Vertigo, they take advantage of that a lot with that kind of a shot.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to cheat these things, like make something seem like a continuous shot when it's not, with having a column pass in front of the camera or something like that, or things like that. And this is one way of just having the handheld camera sort of go close to somebody's back as they do here, and then pull back. Mm-hmm. And it's really beautiful, and I highly recommend not watching it in broken up minutes to get the full effect. To you, dear viewer, please watch the whole thing at once.
As intended, in 1 minute chunks on a small computer screen.
That's, I say,
I felt
keeping
similar
with the vision.
I felt a similar excitement because, as we all know, I'm a fan of getting to see parts of the Falcon we've never seen before, and so that would be. And it disappointed me that they cheated with it and that it's so obvious how they did it. I would have rather have walked away being like, boy, I wonder how the hell they did that shot, And of course, the answer would have been boring computers. But the fact that it's so kind of like you said, this is a trick as old as cinema. Like, I give them credit for doing it, but I'm like, it's not. I don't know. But I do get, like you said, I do give them credit for doing it. And I was actually more excited that we get to see Woody Harrelson goes, oh, go start driving the ship, Han. And then Han runs down the corridor and we see the cockpit from the reverse angle. I was more excited about that because that was clearly like something we'd never seen and was not just a studio trickery.
Both of those things are in this one short segment, and both of them make me incredibly happy.
Yeah.
It's very exciting, and when you watch this whole sequence as a whole, and it's got all that stuff going on in it, it's got the the gun toss from the other day, and it's got the sliding and the tracking shots and all this action going on, and Wookiees and the going up the ramp, and he gets into the thing, and man, it's a great sequence. It's just this whole section of the movie is really exciting for me, and people have said, did we need to see the Kessel Run? Hell yeah, we needed to see it.
That was the prevailing opinion, I think, behind the scenes, that they're like, well, obviously the first thing they did basically was like, all right, well, if we're going to do a Han Solo movie, we got to show the Kessel Run. What is that? And then they basically started from there.
Yeah. And in my opinion, there's certain things that would have been better off just left mentioned and never explored, like the whole Clone Wars. Never needed to know what a clone war was or how it worked or whether there were really clones or any of that nonsense. And by the way, the schoolyard lore, when we heard about the Clone Wars in 1977, was that's why he's called Obi-Wan, because he's a clone. Yeah, that went around.
That made it.
But yeah,
the playground lore made it to the early days of the internet, where that was a thing that people are O1 and Obi-Wan.
That was our internet before.
Yeah.
It was way better than the real one. I didn't need to ever see a Clone War happen, But the Kessel Run, now that I see it, I'm really glad I saw it.
I noticed something about the Falcon while watching this film, and it occurs to me that the only windows on the Falcon are in the cockpit. Like, we never see. And I'm assuming that this was done for the simplicity of not having to do, like, if the main lounge there had a big window on it, they would have had to do some kind of hyperspace effect or a star field or something like that. And generally we do not see that in the original Star Wars. We don't we generally don't see like moving star fields in Star Wars. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting sort of side effect that the Falcon has no windows. Anyway, moving.
Yeah,
on.
it was clearly. I mean, it was a function of, it'll cost us an extra $1 million if we put the window on the set.
Right. Totally,
so much easier. But and now they sort of can easily do that. And you do see in the more sort of modern era, you do see somebody just sitting in a room, and then outside the window there's like stars going by or something, or just hanging out, and you see that weird hyperspace effect.
There's Danny Kaye and Myrna Loy.
Yeah, you can see all those stars as you walk down Hollywood Boulevard.
Uncle Luke.
Some that you recognize.
I always thought when I was a kid that the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon should be an escape pod. Doesn't it look like it's kind of like modular in that sense? Like they could eject it in a way.
Like with the Y-wing.
Right. Yeah.
Same thing with the Y-wing. Yeah.
Although
I guess
maybe it still does. Maybe we don't know.
Well, wasn't that have been one of the mini rigs? Didn't they make a mini rig like that in the
Is that one of the toys?
They hate to talk about the toys, but no toy, just ixnay on the oiters. But that probably would have been a cheap version of that.
Yeah, I don't think they did one that looked kind of. Yeah, they had ones that were kind of reminiscent of other vehicles, but there was a steamroller one,
steampunk.
Yeah. Well, I do now. Jumping back around, so now I'll save the
jump back
for
around.
that. So they're in there. They get in the Falcon before Han goes to the cockpit. He asks very implied, tacit, what's the Beckett's like, Han, get us out of here, but Han looks to Lando and gets his permission first, basically. Like, like, is that cool? Like,
nice little moment there between them. I think.
No matter what, sure, like, Beckett is technically his boss, but he has respect for the ship and respect for Lando's domain, essentially, to say, like, is that cool if I do that? Lando,
I think Lando can see his obvious excitement that he's barely hiding, though, which is a little bit tasteless in this circumstance. But Lando's got other things on his mind, like his girlfriend is now.
Hey, now that your robot girlfriend is dead, can I drive? 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 Like, and Lando's just like, all right, fine.
Yeah. Is this 2 guys' girlfriends he's gotten killed so far in this movie?
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
He's a jinx, that guy.
He's literally a lady killer. Well, not literally, but
a lot to answer for.
He's I don't know. Do you think he's killed a lady at some point in his life? He had to have. He's killed 1,000 men. Why would he not kill a lady?
Well, this is the Star Wars universe where things are a little more progressive than in our real universe. So there's probably just as many bad guys that are ladies as there are bad guys that are big bad men.
So he has killed ladies then. If in that
would assume.
Well, sure. I mean, Beckett killed Aura Singh, so
Yeah.
Well,
this whole fall.
Aura, certainly nobody misses Aura Singh.
Mr. Singh does.
Except somewhere she had like a boyfriend who was very, very upset.
So L3. Pete, you have a question?
Well, I have more I have more cockpit talk, but we can talk. Well, since we're on the L3 subject, let's talk about L3. Yes, go ahead. This is the stuff that I was pinning from earlier in the week.
Yeah. So, like, what's the deal with droids? In Attack of the Clones, we saw that basically C-3PO was a head on a battle droid body, and for all intents and purposes, seemed undamaged. He seemed scared, but he didn't seem like he was malfunctioning or damaged, and seemed completely like the old C-3PO. So, by that logic, could they take L3's head and put it on the battle droid, and it would be like, oh, thanks, Lando, let's go have more adventures?
Yeah, and C-3PO gets blasted to pieces in Empire Strikes Back and then just reassembled, and it's like, oh, he picks up where he left off.
Conceivably, if they hadn't torn out her brain, she'd have been fine. But it seems like she's dying. She's dying this dramatic death of like, it's going dark. What's happening to me? I feel my brain going. It's that, which is not typical for a droid.
Right. Like, couldn't they just turn her off for now and then, fix her and then turn her back on later? Like,
and we know her brain still functions because they use it.
Well, the navigational database is reused.
Well, maybe that's not her whole brain, I guess. But I guess her brain that is her, that says, hello, my name is L3 and I don't like you, is different from the navigational center because that was added on later. Doesn't it say something like that was added on later or something like that? Or maybe not. That's like an upgrade.
Recall. Yeah.
But there are three personalities in the Falcon, right? Yeah. Inside you there are 3 wolves, all of which are navigating a ship.
We and also in I totally blanked out what I was just gonna say. L3. Oh yeah, one of the many things we learn in Rise of Skywalker is that R2-D2 has a backup of C-3PO in his system. Now it seems like
according to Droid Tales.
No, I thought in Rise of Skywalker he goes back home and he's like, "Oh, R2 had backup of my memory, and now everything's reset."
Right.
So it seems like every
that whole
droid
plot point is of no meaning.
But it seems like every droid should kind of have. Wouldn't every droid want to have a backup somewhere? Like, why wouldn't there be a backup on the Falcon?
Yeah.
So maybe that hadn't been invented yet or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is what gave them the idea. Maybe we should start backing up these droids' memories from now on.
I'm still unclear of why L3's story had to be so utterly tragic.
I feel like the political message of shut up and mind your place, that has to be the reason to me. The fact that they're like, oh yeah, she's this progressive thing, and then they're like, oh, you know what? We gotta get her out of there. She's saying the quiet part loud. Yeah.
Couldn't she have just said, oh, you guys are in luck. I have a copy of my brain that I've been keeping on an external drive. You can use it.
Well, I think plot-wise, they always intended L3 to become part of the Falcon. I think that was the reason why she's there, is because they wanted to have a cute scene to establish why the Falcon has a peculiar dialect,
Yeah. But it's great. It's great for the Falcon because the Falcon gets to now canonically be this feisty chick. And then that's
that
great.
Passed from man to man as they use her however they wish.
It's bad for exactly, but it's terrible for L3. It's horrible. It's horrifying for L3, and L3 died so that the Falcon could take on more character. But it's upsetting.
And also, especially that Lando is on the Falcon in The Rise of Skywalker, and there's no reference at all. That would have been a perfect time to do. But as we learned, L3 not the most popular character among the executive class.
Let's not get into a whole thing about the choices that were made for Rise of Skywalker and how they seemed to be entirely beholden to Reddit. But that's not something we want to get into.
No.
Yes.
Not yet.
We really don't want to get into that.
I thought of while they're all watching tearfully as L3 die, picture Chewbacca being like, I could probably fix that droid. Should I say anything? Or, you know what?
Right.
If I say I can fix this droid, they're going to be having me fixing stuff all the time.
And I won't and he really wants to get in the co-pilot seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
He really wants to get in the co-pilot seat. He sees, again, he's like his eagerness. He's standing right behind Kira. We'll get to that later. But
did they talk much? What was the relationship between L3 and Chewbacca? Do they even appear? Like, do they have dialogue? They don't even like hang out.
I don't
at all.
think.
I don't think.
Yeah, Chewbacca spends his whole time on the Falcon at the chess table.
Right.
And she spends her whole time in the cockpit. So I don't think they interact.
Yeah.
At all.
But I'm sure that she is certain that he has a crush on her. She must think it. She probably thinks it about everybody.
That's especially creepy knowing that L3 then lives in the Falcon and is observing everything Han and Chewie and whoever's on the Falcon does for like HAL 9000 for,
Right.
Really, the horror show of this movie, if she's a human being, it cannot be overstated. Her body's torn into, her brain is torn out, and then it is perpetually imprisoned in a spaceship.
Yeah.
It's an episode of Black Mirror. It's the worst possible. Yeah. It's the worst possible fate for any character.
Like that summary in itself would make a decent horror movie or something. But then you're just adding that as like a 3 layers down subplot to a Star Wars movie.
I'm going to pitch an L3 short that is set in the not too distant, in the indeterminate future, so we don't know when it happens.
Okay.
And there's totally different people driving the Falcon, and then suddenly, like, they lose control of the ship, and then the Falcon steers itself and plunges itself into a sun to blow itself up. And they're like, "Why is the ship doing this? We don't understand what's going on." But then you know that it was L3 finally like being like, "I'm out of here." So, but then we don't know when it happens, so it could be right after the Rise of Skywalker. It could be 1,000 years after the Rise of Skywalker. They wouldn't be obligated.
It seems like if L3 was that nihilistic, there were many opportunities prior to that.
Right, but she had to be able to override the ship. Do you think we'll ever see the Falcon blown up on screen, Enterprise style?
I would like it. I'm all for the noble end of these iconic characters. I certainly have friends of mine who are like, "How could they kill off Han Solo?" You can't kill off Han Solo, and I always thought, yeah, you can, and you should, because it's an important part of a great character is their death scene. And so the Falcon's death scene, I would have been happy to see it. I would have been happy to see it in Return of the Jedi, actually. I would have been happy to see it earlier.
Yeah,
well, there was,
as long as it was meaningful,
Yeah,
that did pop up in not in this, obviously, because we know, just like everybody else, we know that it's in another movie.
Would have been a heck of a cliffhanger. Blew up in the last reel.
That would be funny though. Then they get like, he blows up Lando's ship, and he's like, "I got you one that's almost as good," and it's the movie.
What I wonder about is, how did it get so banged up on the inside?
Well,
slobs.
Yeah,
that's it. Just these two guys, these single guys. One of them is single, the other one is just avoiding his wife and kids, living together on this thing, and they just let it go to hell.
Yeah,
what are these guys? Maniac? What are they? They're just.
Well,
that should be Solo. That should be Solo too. It's watching them sit around the Falcon and just play video games and eat snacks and not clean up for ages,
throwing garbage all over the place.
Yeah,
Han Solo literally
clinically depressed, and they just.
Han Solo literally grew up in a sewer, so this is a total step up for.
He treats every place like a sewer.
Right. Well, even like the Falcon as we first see it, in the motion picture, is still like, oh, isn't this beautiful?
Yeah.
Like, look at all this roomy. There's hardly any moist.
We need someone to hunt down more moist for us.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Han in the Falcon, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
When he jumps in there, jumps into the cockpit to start flying it.
Mm-hmm.
When did this little cue become Millennium Falcon music?
It's called
musical cue.
It's called. You know the name of it?
I do not, because I don't pay attention to the music unless it gets in my face, or if Chrysanthi Tan is telling me what it is.
Yeah, is called the Rebel Fanfare.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the name of it. And Yeah,
I think
I
of
don't
it
know.
as the
Somehow
you
that
just finished the
became
level of the arcade game.
that became this is for Chrysanthi to elaborate further on, but that somehow became the Han Solo Millennium Falcon music, and I think it has to do with John Williams wrote this in a specific way, but then when it's being put into the movie and the editors and Lucas, they're putting these cues everywhere, and they're changing things around, and so that's why you sort of have the same music when you're hearing the snow speeders in Empire as you're hearing during the asteroid field, because the Lucas and the editors can do anything they want once they get the music.
Right.
So
yeah, it's odd that it's become, like it was. When did that happen? I think it's just with the sequels, right? Because we didn't see.
I think so. Yeah, and it works better in this context for me than the Star Wars theme. The da 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 da.
Right.
Putting that there seems out of place to me, because that should be specific to Luke Skywalker to me.
Right. What and this. I feel like it became like we were already supposed to know that this was associated with this, because then when they wasn't it? Oh, was it? Which theme was it? Oh boy, this is all the music people are hating us right now. Which theme was it?
I got you. Tell me.
The theme kind of that they used for this, for the beginning of this, for the trailer and stuff like that. Wasn't it a slowed down version of that, or was it the Luke Skywalker, the kind of main theme?
When the first trailers of this came out, I remember it had like a rock theme. It had music that's not in the movie.
But wasn't it like a rock, kind of slowed down rock version of the main theme?
Oh, that I don't remember. I don't remember what it actually.
Do like a little bit off.
Interesting. I know. I never got caught onto that. But
all right. But then
you might be right.
By the time, no, it wasn't. You may be right. It was definitely Star Wars.
No, yeah, sorry.
But by the time we get to the Force Awakens is used, like when Rey is in the Falcon, we're using this. They're like to be the Falcon music, like it's tied to the ship. And then when we see it, like all the other times in the Disney movies, when we see the Falcon, this is its theme.
Yeah, when Rey and Finn see the Falcon and say, "No, not that ship, it's garbage,"
right.
You hear that theme.
Yeah,
which I remember noticing that and thinking, well, that's not exactly the Falcon theme, but it works. But it works. I mean, it works. Again, it works in this scene. It works in this context for me, as it's sort of it's the B theme of Star Wars. Right. And you wouldn't want to hear the A theme. Yeah.
Right.
If you can hire them.
If you can
find them.
You can call the A theme if you can find them.
Soldiers of Fortune.
Mr.
That was, I think, all I had for 84.
Well, I want to mention the scene of Han jumping in the seat because it's significant.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it works so well because it's just the right amount of ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
It's an action scene. It's quick, and it doesn't slow down so that you can savor in that moment. He doesn't look around and go, ugh, but he just takes a beat. He just takes a breath once he sits in that seat and you hear the music and he looks and he's got this look on his face. And I love the way Alden plays it, and I love the way it plays. And I think it's perfect. It really is perfect. You definitely want some kind of ceremony for that moment, but you don't want it to be jarring and to take you out of the scene. And I think they hit the exact right note there for that. So I love it. And then, of course, pressing all of my great buttons, you get a lot of button pressing.
Yeah.
A lot of great, sweet, clunky, satisfying buttons and switches. So if you're a chunky button and switch man like me, you'll love it.
Chunky buttons.
Yes. You will love it.
Here, let me offer, I have two things. One, I'll go to the Kazdan. John Kazdan agrees with you. Says, does the movie work? I'm not the person to ask, but here's what I think does work. The moment when Han jumps into the pilot seat of the Falcon for the first time. This is number 41.
Yeah.
Number really 41 on the list today.
It's such a joyous moment. I don't know if you have a complaint about that moment. I wonder what anyone's even doing, paying money to see a Star Wars movie, because this is it. This is what it's all about. It's about fun and joy and Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon and buttons and switches.
And I agree with you in that it doesn't, not only does it not slow the movie down, but there's a reason for it. Like, it's not just him looking around because
it's motivated.
We know that Han Solo and the Falcon go together. It's all of his life, pretty much. He's been wanting to fly a big Carillion ship that he saw being made, you know, that his dad used to work on these. And so he's jumping into the cockpit. This is all he's wanted to do, basically, for his whole life. And now he's got the green light to go show off your flying skills in this, the culmination of your heritage, essentially. And so it's momentous to him within the diegesis, within the moment, with him. The character is appreciating this moment, and we get to appreciate the moment as a Star Wars fan, knowing that this is momentous.
It's a great moment for the character and for the franchise and for us.
Right.
And for the world.
Yeah. I have another surprising fact about this movie.
Oh.
One of my, number 4 in my surprising facts about Solo, Han, the movie, the film, the Star Wars story. Which is that the original design for the Millennium Falcon was created when the designer of it took a bite out of a hamburger and placed an olive on the side of it, and then drank a Coke, and then finished the hamburger, and so he'd have energy to work on a spaceship design.
Wow.
That's how that happened.
And that just doesn't happen anymore with computers now.
No, yeah. And I think it's because everything's on computers. Nobody's eating a hamburger.
Yeah, all the burgers have been digitized.
Yeah,
right, exactly. So if you don't even eat a hamburger, how can you even design a spaceship if you're not eating hamburgers?
We know
with olives?
Yeah, do we know what happened to the olive?
A single olive on the side. I think he ate that too. He really needed some protein to think about a spaceship design. And I also believe, he took a nap first. I would.
Sure.
In fact, I'm going to now.
All right. Well, you take a nap. Hopefully, you'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed tomorrow if you can stick with us, finish out the week with us.
I will try.
Listeners, viewers, folks out there who aren't the three of us on this call right now, if you would like to join us tomorrow, you can do that. Be sure to, but if you want to, I'm trying to make the segue here and I can't, but I just want to remind everybody that we have a P.O. Box. How about that? Well, P.O. Box 20139, Star Wars Minute, P.O. Box 20139, Greedo Square Station, New York, 10001. Send things, Adam will check it.
Adam's going to check it. So if you guys aren't mailing anything, he's going for nothing. So mail something so Adam's not wasting his time.
He's going like 2 blocks out of his way. For what? For nothing.
For nothing.
At least send some like spring snakes or something. So he opens it up and he's like, whoa! Like,
Oh, man.
Dear God, send Adam spring snakes.
Yeah.
If you do anything, do that.
Do it. Come on. Do it. Do it. Do it. He doesn't listen. He's not caught up, so he won't know. The surprise won't be ruined. Maybe he does listen.
He loves peanut brittle.
Yeah. So send Adam some spring snakes. Meet us back here. We'll be here tomorrow with a brand new episode of Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
The movie, the book, the show.